see that evening sun go down. When that evening sun goes, I feel like I'm on my last go-round. If I'm feeling tomorrow like I feel today, if I'm feeling tomorrow like I feel today, I'll pack my bags and be on my way. St. Louis woman with a diamond ring pushes that man around by her apron strings. If it wasn't for her powder and her store-bought hair, woman I love would have gone away. Oh, I love that woman like a schoolboy loves his pie, like a Kentucky colonel loves his gin and rye. I'm gonna love that woman till the day I die. That woman's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. Oh, that woman's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. Or else she wouldn't have gone so far away from me. St. Louis woman with a diamond ring pushes that man round by her apron string. If it wasn't for her powder and her store-bought hair, woman I love would have gone nowhere. I've got the St. Louis blues. Yeah, all right, guys. Good morning. Good afternoon. What is it? Good noon? Good day. Good day, David Ward.
Good day, sir.
Welcome to Russell's Rocking Chair. We're here today with David Ward, joining us, musician, winemaker, professor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And retired.
And retired. Right. And I was going to say happy homeowner, happy. Tell us a little bit about your beautiful place.
I live on a wonderful little farm that's certified organic, and there we grow about 12 acres of organic vegetables that are sold at some markets locally here in Portland. And then I have about 3.5 acres of a disease resistant French American hybrid grape called Leon Miu, and it is fantastic. It also makes a wonderful juice.
Uh-huh. So wait, before we get into that,
Yeah.
what's the name of your organic farm? What's the
Whiskers Winery.
Whiskers Wine? Oh no, the organic farm. What's the?
The girls who leased the land from me
Yeah.
to grow the vegetables, their name is The Empowered Flowers.
The Empowered Flowers.
Yeah.
Right on. And can you tell me a little bit? I know that we've talked about it before, but can you tell everybody a little bit about how that came about?
Well, on my property, I ran a plant nursery for many years, and in 2005, that all kind of fell apart. And so I just hung on to the property and kept improving the soil and whatnot. And when I was ready, in other words, enough years had passed from the plant nursery that I knew that everything, all the chemicals that we had used were all gone, dissipated 10, 15 years back, right? So
You had a really healthy, loamy soil, huh?
real healthy.
Yeah, yeah.
And when it was
Great.
a plant nursery, I did not B&B. In other words, bag up the soil and sell it. I grew everything in artificial soil. So all the dirt's still there on the property. So anyways, I just put it out to the universe that I really would like some farmers to come and start growing vegetables. And I think I got the two best people in the whole state of Oregon to show up and start planting and growing vegetables. And no kidding, the food is incredibly good.
I've had it. It's excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, you can just see all the plants are reaching.
Yes.
You know, like these guys over here when I give them water after I if I kind of forget a little bit and they get a little droopy, give them some water and come back in an hour and everything is absolutely just reaching.
Yes, yes.
And I remember seeing that with your kale and with your cabbage, that incredible sauerkraut that you make.
Yeah, it's all really, really good. So there's a whole bunch of products that come from the farm. The vegetables, juice, wine, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, and the Leon Mio grape, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I researched for 10 years on another vineyard to learn about, winemaking and grape growing and everything. And the guy there was already doing a project trying to figure out what kind of grape might grow well in the Willamette Valley without using any sprays on it. So we tested many French American hybrids. And the winner of our little contest was this one, Leon Miu. And so I said, okay, I'll plant that. And that's what I did.
What was the attraction to French American hybrids to begin with?
Oh, a viniferous kind of grape has an awful lot of disease problems here in the Northwest. So consequently, they have to spray a whole bunch, and they're spraying for fungus. And they spray and they spray and they spray and they spray and they spray. And I don't know, I can't prove it, but when I drink a commercial bottle of wine, I always get a headache. And I think it has to do with all that spraying. So my grape has no spray, and so you don't get a headache. So there's got to be something there.
Well, also just for general soil health, I just can't imagine it's any way sustainable to just keep spraying it with pesticides every few months.
You wouldn't believe all the sprays that go on to a normal batch of wine grapes.
Not to mention like what it does to the groundwater and everything surrounding those
Yeah.
places just become
Yeah.
very toxic, I'd imagine.
I'm not really sure. I mean, there are vineyards that are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, but then their practices might not be like they are here in the States with all the chemicals.
I was wondering about that. I was thinking, like, if you buy wine from Spain or Italy or France or something, I think they have a lot more rules against all that, and so I feel
Absolutely.
like safer in a way, unless I'm
They still
drinking some of
spray.
your wine or something.
Yeah.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't glyphosate like not even allowed in
I don't think it is.
most,
Yeah.
most European countries?
Yeah, they've got a lot more. Well, as David Rovics was saying, they've got they figured some things out that are much healthier for people and the earth and stuff like that.
Yeah. I agree. So,
Cool. So so I've had quite a bit of your wine
As have I.
yeah.
over the past year,
Yeah.
and I definitely think it's excellent. And your the grape juice
juice.
is
Yes.
incredible.
Yes. The grape
yeah.
juice is life itself. I mean, you drink that stuff and you feel so good. And it's just pure grape juice, nothing else. And I love the label on it. It says ingredient.
Yeah.
One word.
Ingredient.
Yes. No S's.
So when did you kind of set out to actually start growing wine at a
1990.
1990?
Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of pretty right when you got in the property, pretty much, right?
Yeah. Actually, I started in Beaver Creek, where I used to live, and around the corner was a large Nordstrom. The guy was doing his research project, and I just walked by and saw him out there working on the vines and said, "Can I come talk to you?" And that led to a 15-year friendship that was
Wow.
really great.
You know, David, I could be wrong, but I think that 1990, that's pretty early on as far as winemaking in Oregon. I know now Oregon is renowned for winemaking and, Ribbon Ridge and all the Pinot Noirs and all that stuff. But back in 1990, that's pretty early on. So you got in pretty early on.
Yeah, people were still fooling around with things like Gewürztraminer and things like that, and just beginning to grow Pinot Noir on a scale. And so it was all kind of new.
What was
But I did something different, and that was research and not just jump on a bandwagon.
So was it a lot of Merlot back then? Was that like primarily what was being grown in the Columbia Valley? And
Oh,
stuff?
no, you can't grow that here.
Okay.
No.
What was primarily
Pinot.
really back then?
Yeah, even back
Oh,
then.
I didn't know it went back that far.
Yeah, and then Gewürztraminer. Those are the main two. We tried Chardonnay. It was just moldy, constantly moldy.
There's a Abba, I can't quite remember, Abba something down in the southern Oregon, they grow Tempranillo.
In southern Oregon,
yeah.
you can grow a whole bunch of grapes that you can't grow here.
Huh.
And one of my favorites is Bunko Noir. If you ever get a chance to try that, it's very, very good.
Bunko Noir.
Bunko Noir.
What's that?
It's just another one of the French grapes in the Pinot Noir.
Uh-huh.
Noir means black, and so it's another black grape, and it's very good.
Black grape meaning just red, like a red. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Right on.
Awesome.
Yeah. So and you got into that just from being a lover of wine.
Yeah, not wanting to spend all that money on red wine that gave me a headache, So
Yeah.
Some people say the sulfites are what gives them. Some people can't drink wine with sulfites, and I wonder if that's part of it, the issue, aside from all the spraying and pesticides and poison.
I would like to say that if it is true, then dried fruit should just give them a hell of a headache.
Well, that's true.
Because it's all dried with sulfur dioxide. So, whoa, you've got 1,000 times more sulfites than that. And if it doesn't, then I'm
Then
not
it's
so
not.
sure
Yeah,
it's the
okay.
sulfites.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Wine produces its own sulfite naturally. It's usually not enough, though, to prevent oxidization of the wine, and so a little is added, metabisulfite, to the wine, just to make sure that it doesn't spoil it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You add that to your wine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I tried not doing it
Yeah.
and ended up with some batches that sort of taste like dirty socks.
Which is
Yummy.
Yeah, it got dumped out.
Which in the wine world is not desirable. I
No.
guess.
You don't usually see that on wine labels.
Yeah.
Hints of dirty socks. and vanilla.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard in like the fermenting worlds that there's a lot of comparisons that are not really made.
Yeah.
Like with grapes, and wine, people are talking about like, oh, it's there's leather there, and there's, I'm tasting like the fruit there, and I'm tasting like the wood there, you know what I mean? But when it comes to things like, fermented things or cheeses, and people just say it tastes great.
Yeah.
Because, if they really like said what they thought it tasted like, they'd be like, it tastes like an armpit, but it's good.
One of the terms that did leak over was it has a hint of barnyard.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the barnyard taste
Yeah.
is how it's
Barnyard.
Yeah.
and that's generally a quality of sort of like reused oak barrels, right?
I'm not really sure exactly where that might come from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard that French wine they tend to reuse their barrels a lot more, so they end up with more barnyard wine.
Could be. A new French oak barrel is incredibly expensive. I buy refurbished barrels at $400 a piece, but a new one, $1,200 to $1,600.
Is that right?
Piece. Oh yeah.
Wow. Refurbished, so they've sanded off like the
Yeah.
used bits, sort of.
Yeah, they get, a barrel should only be used for 3 years. Okay, that's where it imparts its beautiful oaky flavor to the wine. After the 3 years, it's called oak neutral. Still great for storing wine, but it doesn't give you that little oaky flavor, right? And so a company called Rewine, which is down at on Jefferson, they disassemble barrels that they get from big wineries who can afford the $1,600, and they take them all apart and they sand the insides, they retoast them, put them back together, leak check them, fill them full of sulfur dioxide gas so they don't have any fungus going in it, and then you can buy a refurbished barrel for $400.
Yeah.
So it's really worth it.
Yeah. Cool, and it really imparts a lot of flavor.
I found that it does.
Yeah.
When I used barrels over and over and over again, year after year, and tried things like chips and, all kinds of oak pieces that you can put in, it just doesn't taste right.
Yeah.
And so, fresh oak barrel is fabulous.
It's funny, that tradition, of oak being sort of an okay flavoring for wine.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like if you talk about like putting, flavor in your wine, most people like consider that pretty lowbrow. You know what I mean? To be like, oh, I put some cranberry juice in there, and I put some whatever lemon juice in there or something, or squeezed a lemon in the top or whatever. Like people would kind of think that's a little lowbrow, even though the tradition goes back, I guess, to the Greeks, like that they would take a batch of wine that didn't taste so hot and like add a little something, so it's like, there it is, now it tastes good.
The origins of vermouth.
Oh yeah.
That's what vermouth is.
Really?
Yeah, you take some wine that's not so good, and you add a bunch of spices to it, and make it vermouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, it makes sense.
That's it.
Yeah. Who's gonna let booze go to waste?
I know.
Yeah.
do you ever make a grappa? Do you ever do that?
Oh yeah. That's something we try every year, and sometimes it goes, and sometimes I get a wonderful batch of vinegar.
Which is it's good too.
Oh yeah. In fact, I'm going to be
Vinegar's good.
pressing 35 gallons of vinegar in about a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Great. Cool.
great product.
Mm-hmm.
Very useful.
Yes.
Right on. So how long have you had the your organic farm going?
Oh, let's see now. We're going on the 5th year.
Going on 5th year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Right on. And so you kind of have a all right, now are you just are you charging them money to have the organic farm there, or how are you negotiating that? Oh, you look towards the camera. Are you nervous?
No, I'm looking outside. No. No, I'm offering a deal that's pretty good. There's a well on the property, and when they're using the irrigation during the summertime, it costs some money. PG wants their cash. So I just charge them that bill during the summer months, and that's it.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
Oh, that's great.
Wow, dude.
Well, I want those girls to succeed. I want them to have a retirement. I want them to deliver delicious food to
That's
people.
awesome.
And they do, and they smile all the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you pull that mic towards you just a hair?
Okay, sure.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Just
Okay.
that much is perfect. Yeah. Well, that's great. And so, what do you? Why would you do such a thing?
My answer would be, why don't more people do that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you've got land that could grow something and you've got an irrigation permit, which I do, it should be in production of some kind. And, well, I don't know. I'm a vegetarian, so I think about vegetables. I don't think about animals, you know. Yeah, that's a great way to use land, raise animals. But there's a heck of a lot more people could be fed with vegetables than with animals.
Yeah.
Just pure logistics there. And those girls do such a good job. They came from Gathering Together Farms down in Philomath, which is a huge organic farm. And Jolene was, she was the manager of 175 acres of vegetables. And so to come to my place and do 12, 15, 20, I'm going, yes, you know what you're doing. And they really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too that you know, agribusiness and politicians would love us to believe that you know, food quality is all the same across the board. That a carrot is a carrot. You know what I mean? And it's if you've had like really good organic food grown in really well balanced soil, like, again, you've got that reaching quality to the vegetable. You can just tell it's just bursting with life, and it's bursting with flavor and with crunch and with everything else too. Like I've had your food. It's excellent.
Well, spring is coming, so there'll be a lot more food as time goes on.
Yeah.
You know, I go out there and pick my breakfast, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been one of the fringe benefits of coming out to your place. It's like grabbing a handful of kale and going like, damn, this is the best kale I've had in years.
Yeah, I got to get out there. I got to get out there.
Please.
Soon.
I've got lots of lures for you guys to take.
I know.
Some friends of mine didn't have a farm, but they had what they called Salad Hill, and they just had this little mound that was, you know, growing out in the side yard, and they would just, you know, sprinkle all these different types of lettuces out there. And so, you know, you could go out there without even making a dent at all in like Salad Hill, like fill up this huge bowl with you know, onion tops and garlic tops and like all these various things, you know, things to kind of make it all taste really even, and then just sprinkle a little oil over the top of it, and it was done.
Yeah, that's
just
right.
like that was your salad.
That's right.
You know, a little salt, nothing, you know, so good.
Nothing like live food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a vegetarian, huh?
Yeah, I've been a vegetarian since 1978.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a while.
It's a while.
So does that mean like strictly like you haven't had any fish? You haven't, you know, never had a.
No fish, no meat, no nothing.
What do you do do you eat eggs?
Yeah, I have eggs.
Do you
I
have,
did.
like-
I did eat them for a long time, and I actually got sick.
Huh.
And so my naturopath gave me medicine. All it was powdered eggs in a capsule, and I went, God, "This is ridiculous." Okay, I'll eat eggs.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a source for eggs that you like? I don't. I wish I have there's somebody I know from my mom's church that sometimes gives me some farm fresh, you know, eggs that were actually grown on her property. But yeah, that's something I'd really like to find, is a source of eggs that I actually trust, because that's some of the saddest food in human history, you know, is the egg.
Yeah, factory farming. chicken.
Factory
Yeah,
farming.
horrible.
Yeah.
Just horrible.
The fact, you know, that animals have never been treated worse than they're treated right now, and eggs are some of the cruelest.
Mm-hmm. And well, I mean, the other thing is, apparently, you know, there's a lot of male chicks that are killed like just en masse because they're not the right type of chicken to be a meat chicken, but they're not going to lay eggs, and so they just kill them. So that's even another hidden part of the egg industry, as I understand it.
Yeah. Roosters are no fun.
They are fun, actually.
So if they didn't have such shitty personalities,
Yeah,
they'd be.
They're no fun.
Right on. So, so you know you have somebody like in your neighborhood that maybe has a.
Yeah, Gordo across the street, he's got eggs.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Cool. So you just trade him some veggies and.
Well, he wants money.
Uh-huh.
I'm always looking for somebody that would trade a bottle of wine for a dozen eggs, though.
That seems doable, right?
Yeah.
If I laid eggs, I would do that. But someday,
Someday.
working on it.
All right. How'd you get into harmonica? Like you're in deep. You got about 50 harmonicas over there that I can
know,
see.
man.
You got the bullet mic. You got the amplifier. You are set. So you're not just some guy who wants to sit in with an A harp.
No, I've been into it for a while.
Yeah.
When I was 11, I put a old Horner C harmonica in my pocket and just would pull it out and play it every time I was bored.
Mm-hmm.
And that was often. And
What's the first step?
well, I think trying to play an individual note is probably the first step, and it's not that easy of a thing to do. And the way they teach you how to do it is ridiculous. They want you to put your tongue on the harmonica, and to me that's just gross, you know. So I figured out how to make a little hole in my lips, and I can hit every note, you know. And after a few years, you know, your embarrage gets there and you can do it. So 55 years of playing, and I professionally, I guess, only about the last 20. Really enjoy it. It's like what I live for. Play music.
And so you have a band that you're playing with. I know we've been jamming over here.
Yes.
But do you have a band that you're playing with regularly other than that?
No, not at this time. I mean, playing with you guys is the highlight of my life right
Right
now. I was in a band, and then COVID came along, and I'm highly educated, so I wouldn't fall for the garbage I heard, and they kicked me out. And so, you know, I'm trying to find some compassionate people to play with instead of a bunch of Yahoo idiots.
So, did they?
That was good.
When you say, was it through disagreements, or you know? Because I know that during I tried to keep a pretty open mind, and I had criticisms for you know, an industry I already don't trust, that created laws so that it couldn't be sued, to then add that was then financially financially motivated to add as many diseases to their rosters as possible, with no end in sight, and they want to put it in your kids, and if you have any objections, they call you a maniac. And so I also had like, you know, a deep distrust of Christian Science. That I read like Mark Twain's book on Christian Science and realized like that was a scam from the moment it came about. And yeah, Mark Twain, his book on Christian Science like was brilliant. Have you read it?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So it's like the way that it goes, it slowly morphs from a tall tale to a, you know, basically a whole expose on this religion, started by this woman that insisted that everybody, you know, read her book like verbatim. You know what I mean? There were no priests, there were readers in her church. And But anyway, the book starts with Twain, you know, on a long carriage ride, you know, through precarious mountains, and he ends up like tipping over the side and going over the edge, and like, you know, his cart, everyone's killed but him. They rescue him, and he wakes up in a Christian Science hospital, and the guy tells him like, well, the great thing is, you know, you've broken every bone in your body, but with the miracle of the Bible, you will you know, you'll heal yourself. And like, he's sitting there on the operating table going like, I'm going to fucking die. But then slowly, like, he hears like a crack, and then he hears like a twist, and like every bone in his body like fuses back together, and he stands up from the operating table like fit as a fiddle, like good as new, you know. And that's like how the book starts. It's just like this very cynical take on you know, Christian Science and the idea that like a miracle will improve your health, you know. And so, you know, that's kind of what I was coming to this stuff, you know, from. And then, you know, I lived with a woman who had kids, who had some different, you know, ideas about like where vaccines were headed. And, you know, I already pre-COVID had a little bit more of an open mind than a lot of people. And especially in this quote unquote liberal city of Portland, that is actually like very loud and closed-minded in many ways.
Yes.
You know, like, so
a lot of hostility out there in 2019.
Incredible, huh?
Incredible. For the public good. What a... I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, man. I can't believe it. It's like a nightmare. Like, it makes me think of this James Joyce quote, history is a nightmare from which I'm trying to awake. And I feel like from 2019 through, I don't know, 2023, it was like I just couldn't believe. It seemed like the whole freaking society had gone completely nutso, and especially like where we live. And yeah, lockdowns, vaccine mandates, good friends of mine championing vaccine mandates. And okay, so I could go on and on. I'm not even gonna, I'll just stop there for a moment, because I'm very angry about the whole thing.
I am too.
And any kind of credibility that a person has could just suddenly be tossed out the window if they didn't choose to panic.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I guess that I like, the first thing for me was that I was I'm very sensitive to people telling me to be afraid. So, you know, my first big experience with kind of going like, I choose to not participate in this mass panic was during George Bush, and like how I was supposed to wake up every day, you know, scared that the terrorists were going to get me. 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, right? And
Terrorists. You got to pronounce it right. Terrorists.
The terrorists were going to come and tear me in half. And I just, you know, heard somewhere that that, you know, you were as likely in the suburbs, you know, to be struck by lightning as to be killed in a terrorist attack. And yet, you know, everywhere I looked, like, you just saw that image over and over again of the towers falling, and just be scared, be very scared. This is what's going to happen to you. You know, it could happen to your town. It could come to you. And I just thought, like, what's with this? Like, good capitalists should be trying to get everyone to go back to work. Good capitalists should be like trying to get the public to not be in fear so that they'll go out and go shopping, right? So then what was with the color-coded terrorist, you know, watch list system, where it's code orange right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's with these things that are automatically telling you like to be scared and to be afraid? Why would that suddenly start to occur in this instance, you know? And then I guess, that moving through the Republicans, moving through George Bush and all that, when it came around this time, and I, you know, found myself in part of the country that bought it hook, line, and sinker, and that really used like shame and humiliation to make their point. You know, basically like believe it or you're out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that didn't work for me either. You know what I mean? Like make a real argument.
Right.
Or,
But I think that the best thing is the backlash from all of that. If you're in the medical profession, you have no credibility. None. Because we've been lied to so much that you can't believe what they say. And if you just pay attention, you can see they don't believe it either.
I got advertised to in a college class for Prozac. My professor like took a moment to tell us in a biology class where we were discussing reptiles, and she takes a second to say like sometimes your brain chemistry gets a little messed up and like you just got to get something to set you straight, so Prozac. Okay, cool, everyone, and then goes back to the lecture. But like, she got paid for that,
Product placement.
and a lot of people got paid for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like,
And-
yeah, and and Prozac was allowed to throw out all the studies that did not fit the conclusions that they wanted, like completely antithetical to science.
Yes.
Right, the whole scientific method.
Yes. And I am being a scientist, I really am upset that our field took such a big hit by having a few people create some lies, telling everybody that we're the science, our lies you should believe, And of course it comes out that, it was all lies. Yeah. And so, okay, where does that leave the legitimate scientist who's doing legitimate work on something? Well, maybe somebody will believe him, maybe not. But that whole loss of credibility and loss of trust in our system is the consequence of a culling operation called COVID-19.
What does credible science look like to you?
Repeatable experiments that are done on whatever it is, whatever portion of science you might be working in, and that the papers that you write are honest and true, and that there's data to back it up, verifiable data, and that it's publicly known. I mean, I think the majority of Americans are duped by their lack of real education and this whole thing about belief. As soon as I hear the word belief, I'm going, okay,
Yeah.
one lie against another one.
Yeah.
Which one do you believe?
Believe the science?
Believe, yeah. I mean, there should be like absolutes. That sky, it's blue. I swear, it is. It's
I don't
blue.
believe that.
See?
No.
When a human speaks it, that comes up right away. Do you believe him?
John Trudell, activist and poet, said that he was an American Indian movement spokesperson for a while too. He always said he had some great stuff about belief. He often talked about that. He said, well, look at the word believe. There's a lie in the middle of it.
Yeah, there really is.
There's that. And he said, thinking needs to flow. And so thinking flows. There's no boxes around real thinking. It's electromagnetic energy that should be flowing. Now, if you have a belief system, if you believe, you can't really let your thinking flow because you believe it, so you put a box around it. And so for me, that ties in with the science question because a lot of people are like, well, do you believe the science? Do you, the science is settled. There's a consensus. That's not what science is. Science is not about belief. No. Science is not about a consensus, really. I mean, it's about
discovery.
And it's about discovery, and you keep revising what you think according to what you find. That's what science is. And people were treating science like a freaking religion, which it's not.
No, it isn't. this world.
Or as Trudell says, you can think or you can believe, but you can't do both at the same. It's one or the other.
Yeah. So, here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Well, yeah, I think that a lot of the panic sort of drove, the media drove the panic. The panic sort of drove the urgency to use models to predict sort of like where a virus could lead us, right? And I think that's kind of where the belief part of it came in, that it became very easy to convince people of two opposite conclusions, right? Like based on the same data set.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Which is really interesting. I don't know, like because I guess there are some things that you don't want to experiment for, but I mean, I've heard that the polio vaccine took a long time to develop because they really wanted to make sure that they had a safe vaccine that went out by the time it went out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of warp speeding that was just like couldn't be done. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think where I think that I feel a lot of like empathy for people who like really bought it, because like it was people's better, like it was the better parts of people that really wanted to be safe. And like I really in some ways was really impressed by young people that were like that fell for it, unfortunately, but also like even though they believed the official story on COVID, which basically said like you have no chance of dying from this as a young person. Like if you're under 25, like don't worry about it, you're fine. Mm-hmm. They all chose to freak out about it anyway because they didn't want to pass it to their family members and to the elderly. I thought that was pretty, in some ways, like very commendable, but just like misled.
Yeah, it's too bad they manipulated that preservation feeling felt by a lot of people in order to sell something that was basically not good for you.
Yeah, what do you think was the general drive? I mean, I guess I mentioned that they weren't being good capitalists, but they really were when it comes down to it. It's just that there was like just a handful of people that would get really wealthy. But who would participate in that?
Well,
who would choose to participate in that? Like knowing that like you're going to be, so many people lost their fortunes, lost their lives,
yes. Yes.
to this thing, and a few people made so much money. Jeff
Mm-hmm.
Bezos,
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gates,
Mm-hmm. Tony.
Fauci.
Tony, yeah.
Yeah. So a few people made so much money on this, but do you think that they were just that they just had a coordinated?
Yeah, it was totally planned.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they first isolated the coronavirus in 1965, and the COVID-19 had that U.S. patented sequence in it. That's what they kept talking about. This looks like it's engineered.
What do you mean by the?
There's a sequence within the virus that is a patented genome. That one they isolated in 1965.
So when you mean by isolated, do you mean sort of like created?
No.
Or sort of like isolated?
Isolated it from the natural cold virus. Okay, and then they kept adding more and more pathogens to it to try to come up with a killer bioweapon. I mean, that was what it was all about. Bioweapon, bioweapon, bioweapon. They released it in the public. They announced it long before they were going to do it. They did it. A lot of people lost their lives, but mostly the vaccine was the reason they wanted to release it. So much money they could make. so much transfer of money when you think about it. If they go through and they make sure that all the old folks get a shot, and it's going to kill all of them or most of them, there's a lot of money that gets transferred that way because of inheritances and stuff like that from these people who have passed now. There was a lot of money made in those transactions. You know, that whole thing was just a stimulus, a way to stimulate the economy. And it was a culling operation. The elite have been calling for depopulation for a long time.
Including Bill Gates.
So Bill Gates funds the whole damn thing because he knows he can make a fortune off of it. And he did. He's been advocating using vaccines to cull the population for a long time.
Yeah, he's openly said that.
Yeah, he is. He is.
If we do a good
evil.
enough, if we do a good enough job with the vaccines and we can reduce the population, like what? What are you talking about? You're killing people with vaccines? I guess so.
And
I guess that's what you want to do.
Reducing a population is a complete fallacy. If you want to be a strong nation, you want to have a lot of people. If you want to profit, you want somebody to buy your thingy. And if there's nobody to buy your thingy, then what the hell? I mean, this is totally counterproductive.
Well, there's a very anti-human being agenda going on that has been going on for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. There always is. And it's I don't know how to say this, but, you know, we're all here to discover our godhood, you know, and there's those who are so upset by the idea of that they'll do anything to stop it.
By that, do you mean our inherent power as human beings that is related to the divine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it slips out. I mean, there's a few things out there that you can always rely on. The active, creative mind is the source of all reality. That's the word activism. Keep that in mind, people. The active, creative mind is the source of all reality. So if you're a creator and you build things and you fix things, you repair things, and you make it look better, you are a creator. And the world has no choice but go, whoa, wow, look at that cool thing you just did, right? And so each of us is incredibly powerful, you know, if we just turn it loose and do not let fear run your life, right? That's the most important thing. Like my property, I put an intention all the way around the whole thing. Fear does not operate here. Fear does not operate here. Fear does not operate here. And by doing so, wow, people are happy all the time. Imagine that.
Yeah, I don't think a whole lot of people would argue that fear in the populace, it allows the populace to be controlled.
No, absolutely. That's how they do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Did Hitler talk about it expressly?
Some Goebbels maybe did, I think. Yeah, everybody, all the politicians use fear to manipulate.
It's been used for a long time.
Yeah. Fear this, fear that, fear the terrorists, fear the virus.
Fear.
Right.
Well, it's just distraction. Keep you from really thinking.
So you grew, when were you, mind if I add, when were you born?
Oh, 57.
57.
Yeah.
So you were 13 in 1970.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's similar. I was 12 in 1990. So it's kind of like, you know, I kind of feel like I came of age in the 90s, came of age, and like that, I felt like a dramatic shift in the 90s sort of culturally.
Yeah, wherever you were when you were 13, 14, that is like the definition of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting, huh? So, why did I ask? I guess I asked it because of World War II and the proximity to World War II.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that was one of the most cynical wars in human history.
Right.
And it really there was a whole generation of gray, you know, gray normalcy after that, like all throughout the 50s and then the 60s kind of would seem like this moment where it broke out, and like, you know, I don't know if maybe people coming back from the war had just had it, at that point, and you know, went a little nuts and started cults and you know, but anyway, yeah. Did you feel like you were pushing against a kind of generation of gray as you were growing up?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The energy from the sun in the 60s brought about a lot of consciousness awakening for a lot of people, and for those who couldn't turn on, you know, it frightened the hell out of them. And so it was a very suppressive time as far as you know, the powers that be, you know, I mean, the whole hippie movement, they wanted to squash that thing big time. And what were they all advocating? Peace, love, and happiness, right? Okay, everything that is, those who want to have fear as the controlling factor, I mean, that's just absolutely anti to them. And so they created the Madsen incident in order to squash the hippie movement, and by fear, by introducing fear.
And I would say groups such as the Symbionese Liberation Army too. If you,
Yeah.
I've done some research on that. That was concocted.
Sure.
That was concocted.
Yeah, most of these terrorists are concocted by the CIA, you know, because they're that invisible army out there that just ruins the whole world for their own personal reasons. I don't think they are loyal to anybody. They don't have anything in mind as far as one group better than the other. They just want to mess it all up, you know.
It certainly seems that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And stuff that I've read, you're like, what is the motive of these people like James Jesus Angleton and people like that? Like, you're just trying to do the most evil shit that you can think of all over the world? I guess so.
Yeah.
Because you don't seem to have any loyalties to
Nothing.
Anybody
Nobody,
or any
nothing.
country, or it's like, what are you what's your motive? I really don't get it.
Who's
People
that
like
again?
James Jesus Angleton, who was a big CIA operative. He was involved with the bombing of the USS Liberty, and you know, according to our friend Matt, a big player in the Kennedy assassination, et cetera, et cetera. Very much, very close ties to Israel. He had also, which I'm not sure what that was all about, but yeah. But you look at these guys and they're like, I mean, the CIA is really, it's a big secret society, and so, you know, the higher you get to the top level, the more you know what's going on. But a lot of people, you know, probably have no idea what's going on. They think they're doing good stuff or whatever, but it's like, it's a secret society. By definition, intelligence agencies are secret societies, right?
Right.
There's a book that kind of keeps coming up on this live stream called "Strange Tales from Inside the Canyon."
Weird scenes from
Inside the Canyon.
I think it's like a quote of a Doors song or something. Weird. No, I'm getting it wrong. Weird scenes from the canyon.
I don't know,
something like that. David McGowan. Yeah.
I mentioned it a few times. I don't think I've gotten it right once. But anyway, it kind of presents the whole hippie movement as basically a CIA front to sort of derail the anti-war movement.
And he talks about Laurel Canyon specifically, and about the Manson stuff, and about all the military operations that were going on around there, and then the music industry and how that's tied in, how that was tied in, and very intriguing.
Yeah,
Very intriguing.
Yeah, you look at the Doors, you know, and Jim Morrison's father, like that. I mean, General Morrison, like that guy is renowned, you know. And you look at the drummer for the Police, you know, what's his name? A band, first of all, called the Police.
Yeah.
But
Every step, every breath you take, I'll be watching you.
You're watching. That's so classic.
No, they were a great band, though.
They were a great band, and he's an incredible drummer. So I feel bad, but still, I mean, he openly admits, you know, not openly admits. I mean, it's just known. What's his name? Stuart.
What is his Stuart Copeland? Thank you.
Yeah, Copeland. His father, like, you know, I mean, I just heard an interview with him where Stuart Copeland, you know, where he just flat out starts the interview. Is one that a podcast he did for the Trap Set, and he just starts out the interview and comes in. He's like, So my father used to overthrow governments in the Middle East, and I grew up, living there, and yeah, and he talked about how like the Baladi rhythm, like the I can't even really do it right. Right. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. Right. Heavy beat on beat 3. Now just swing it. It's like the one drop, reggae one drop.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Because the Police have such a big. It sounds like they have such a big reggae influence, which I think they do. But that's fascinating.
I mean, that's what he said. He like the reggae rhythm, when he heard that, like made perfect sense to him, because he just like grew up hearing that Baladi rhythm, which is from his dad overthrowing countries in the Middle East.
So there were upsides to overthrowing governments,
All that good music.
Yeah, right. No, it is interesting. That he talks in that book how yes, some of those groups had like a vague sort of anti-war sentiment or anti-Vietnam War sentiment, but it was usually pretty vague, pretty light. Maybe a line or two in one of their big hits, but nothing like, they weren't really at the protests. They weren't really like participating, they were like making careers in music by moving to the middle of the woods in the canyon there, in a place that had no real industry or music history of music to it, just sort of like and who's the other big one? The guy, was it Crosby?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of Laurel Canyon groups. There was Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. So Neil Young was there. He had property, I believe, and Joni Mitchell lived there for a while. The Eagles, the Byrds, all of those groups were rooted in the Laurel Canyon scene, as I understand it.
But didn't David Crosby in particular, his family has like...
He was pegged in that book as like being definitely coming from military intelligence family, I think. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, and David McGowan, he doesn't prove anything in that book. But he asks a lot of interesting questions.
No,
it's very engaging.
There were a lot of parts of it that I objected to, or felt like, I don't know, felt like he was just taking cheap shots.
I agree.
But when your family is really heavily into the military, and you're sort of, taking this different route supposedly, but then, what was that?
Sorry, my headphones hit the mic.
Oh, okay. But when you're taking this sort of vague, anti-stance on it, and you're not being clear, and you're not really doing anything. Anyway, and there's just so many of them. There's so many of them. Those bands and stuff that were associated with that. Anyway, it's just, it is interesting. It's like, I do think it was a genuine rebellion from the war, but I do think that there were ways that was controlled and manipulated. And
yeah, I think growing up during those times that there was a sense that it was a lie, that there wasn't really a war. I mean, there was a war, but it wasn't what we were told. It wasn't what they were really doing. It wasn't the propaganda that we were fed about the Vietnam War. It was something completely different, It almost always comes down to this. The World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, finds a new location where there are some assets, and it's asset acquisition. So the Vietnam War was asset acquisition. There was a Bank of Vietnam that had a whole bunch of gold. Go steal it. Same with Iran, Iraq, all of that kind of stuff.
You think it was literally about gold?
It is literally asset acquisition, because when you have a banking system that fractionally lends out money somewhere, someplace, there's got to be some hard something that you can say, well, yeah, we can back it. Well, after a while of doing that, you run out of the hard stuff and you got to go get some more. And so, hey, the Bank of Baghdad, they had a lot of money. Let's go knock them over. The Bank of Vietnam, we'll go knock that one over. I mean, when you got tanks, you were just a very good thief. That's what it all comes down to.
Steal a little and they throw you in jail. Steal a lot and they make you king, as Bob Dylan said.
Yes, that's right. I mean, the military is used for asset acquisition. That's it.
Yeah.
And so, that war, the Vietnam War, and all subsequent wars were always just cover stories for the movement of money, and then where that money went and what they did with it. Well, that might be another subject for another dive, but that's just my ideas on it.
Yeah. Well, David, man, it was good to have you over and have a conversation. An hour just flew by. I can't believe it. Do you guys want to play a song or two and wrap this up pretty soon?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And I think we could have another one of these sessions sometime with David, because there's plenty more I'd like to ask you about, David. But
Absolutely.
But we'll wait.
Sure.
We'll wait for another opportunity.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Let's jam one. Let's see. Were we talking about? What we could do? Let's see. How about one we haven't done in a minute? What do you feel like doing, David? What do you feel like playing?
We had a lot of fun with some improv jazz the other day. That was a lot of fun.
How about you want to do Candy Shop? Do minor swing in the Candy Shop?
Sure, why not?
Cool. Yeah, is this like an A minor bluesy thing?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is an Andrew Bird song. Do you know Andrew Bird, violinist? Oh man, you'd love him. I think you'd love him. He's got a lot of stuff, but most of it is great. And he wrote a song called Candy Shop in like the year 2000. And so we've been doing this thing where we take like that song Minor Swing that Django Reinhardt did, and we put that at the beginning and then go into that other song. So,
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Let's see. I think I can do this. All right, ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. One more, David. Well, piece by piece and nail by nail, it'll all come down someday before the fires of hell. You let me in your house. You let me in your house. You Set me in your house with the hammer. Set to time, set to stone. Tip for tat, bone for bone. I'm going to set fire to your glamour. Rock that candy shop. Rock that candy shop. Rock that candy shop. Set it on fire. Run away and watch it burn. I'm going to set fire to your glamour. Oh, rock that candy shop. Rock that candy shop. Rock that candy shop. Set it on fire. Run away and watch it burn. I'm going to set fire to your glamour. To your glamour. To your glamour. Rock that candy shop. Ah, yeah. That felt like a finale.
Yeah.
You want to? All right. You want to play us out with Feeding the Cats? Thank you, David Ward.
Thank you.